Marcus Blackwood looks exactly the same as he did 15 years ago. So does Alexander Stone. And Viktor Tech? The man seems to be aging backwards. While the rest of us grow older, these tech billionaires have discovered something that governments don't want you to know. Something that makes vampire legends look like children's bedtime stories. Tonight, we're exposing the Silicon Valley secret that's more terrifying than any horror movie you've ever watched. Welcome to Shadowverse, where we uncover the darkest truths hiding in plain sight. Hit subscribe and comment your favorite topic below, because what you're about to learn will change everything you thought you knew about the people controlling our digital world. Let's talk about something that should terrify you more than any ghost story. Take a long, hard look at Marcus Blackwood from 2004 when Social Sphere launched. Now look at him today in 2025. 21 years have passed, yet his face remains unnaturally smooth. His eyes still hold that same cold intensity, and his skin has that peculiar pallor that never seems to change. This isn't good genetics or expensive skincare routines we're talking about. Compare this to any normal person who's lived through 2 decades of stress, sleepless nights, and the natural aging process. Most people show clear signs of wear by their 40s. Gray hair, wrinkles, age spots. These are normal human experiences, but not for Silicon Valley's elite. Alexander Stone looked older in 1999 when he founded Megacorp than he does today. How does a man in his 60s have more energy and vitality than when he was in his 30s? The pattern becomes even more disturbing when you examine their lifestyles. These aren't people living peaceful, stress-free lives that might naturally slow aging. They're running massive corporations, making decisions that affect billions of people, working 18-hour days and dealing with congressional hearings and public scrutiny. The stress alone should have aged them significantly, yet they seem immune to the natural consequences of human existence. Viktor Tech provides perhaps the most chilling example. The man has been running multiple companies simultaneously, launching rockets, building electric cars, and purchasing social media platforms. He's had multiple children, gone through public divorces, and engaged in Twitter feuds at all hours of the night. This level of stress would break most people, both mentally and physically. Instead, Viktor appears to be getting younger, more energetic, and more ambitious with each passing year. What's their secret? What do they know that the rest of us don't? The answer lies in a practice so ancient and so horrifying that most people dismiss it as mythology. But what if I told you that vampirism isn't just a legend from Transylvania? What if it's alive and thriving in the heart of America's tech capital? The medical community has been quietly studying a phenomenon called parabiosis for decades. It's the process of surgically connecting the circulatory systems of 2 organisms, allowing them to share blood. In laboratory settings, when old mice are connected to young mice, something remarkable happens. The older mice begin to show signs of cellular regeneration. Their organs function better, their cognitive abilities improve, and their physical appearance changes dramatically. Stanford University, located in the heart of Silicon Valley, has been conducting extensive research on this topic. Their studies show that young blood contains factors that can reverse aging in older subjects. The proteins, hormones, and cellular components found in youthful blood act like a biological reset button for aging bodies. But here's where things get dark. This research isn't just theoretical anymore. Several Silicon Valley billionaires have been quietly funding these studies through shell companies and anonymous donations. They're not just interested in the science, they're actively participating in it. Private clinics have emerged throughout the Bay Area, offering what they call blood renewal therapy. These aren't your typical medical facilities. They operate in secrecy, require extensive background checks, and charge fees that would make most people's eyes water. The process is simple, but disturbing. Young, healthy individuals donate blood, not the small amounts you'd give at a Red Cross drive, but significant quantities that require careful medical supervision. This blood is then processed and transfused into older recipients who pay enormous sums for what they believe is liquid youth. The donors are compensated well, but at what cost to their own health and vitality? What makes this particularly sinister is how these tech leaders source their donors. They don't rely on random volunteers or traditional blood banks. Instead, they've created a network of carefully selected individuals, young, healthy, and often desperate for money. Many of these donors are tech workers themselves, caught in the ironic situation of literally giving their life force to the very people who exploit their labor. The age reversal effects are temporary, requiring regular treatments to maintain. This creates a dependency cycle that mirrors the most terrifying aspects of vampire mythology. The psychological transformation that accompanies these treatments is perhaps even more disturbing than the physical changes. Those who undergo regular blood transfusions report heightened senses, increased aggression, and an insatiable hunger for more. They describe feeling truly alive only during and immediately after the procedures. Between treatments, they experience what can only be described as withdrawal symptoms: fatigue, irritability, and an obsessive focus on their next session. This explains the increasingly erratic behavior we've witnessed from tech billionaires in recent years. Their decision-making has become more impulsive, their public statements more bizarre, and their treatment of employees more callous. They're operating on a different biological and psychological level than ordinary humans. The blood treatments don't just reverse physical aging, they seem to strip away empathy and moral constraints. The most chilling aspect is how they've normalized this practice within their circles. What started as experimental medical treatment has evolved into a twisted social ritual. They host private gatherings where the feeding process becomes a bonding experience among the elite. These events are carefully orchestrated, with medical staff on hand and legal documents ensuring absolute secrecy. The financial investment required for maintaining this lifestyle is staggering. Estimates suggest that each individual spends millions annually on their blood renewal programs. This creates a perverse incentive to accumulate wealth not for luxury or philanthropy, but for biological survival. They're literally drinking money in the form of human blood. Meanwhile, their donors, the young people providing this precious resource, often experience long-term health consequences. Frequent large-volume blood donation can lead to chronic fatigue, immune system suppression, and accelerated aging. The very vitality these billionaires gain comes directly at the expense of others' well-being. This isn't science fiction or conspiracy theory anymore. It's happening right now in sterile medical facilities hidden throughout Silicon Valley. The tech leaders we trust with our data, our communications, and our digital lives are sustaining themselves through practices that would have been condemned as monstrous in any previous era. They've become modern vampires, and we're just beginning to understand the true scope of their hunger. The blood these Silicon Valley vampires crave doesn't come from willing volunteers at your local donation center. It requires a specific type of donor, young, healthy, and most importantly, desperate enough to sell their life force for money. The recruitment process is more sophisticated and sinister than anything you could imagine. Tech companies have perfected the art of identifying vulnerable young people. They target recent college graduates drowning in student debt, immigrants seeking work visas, and struggling artists trying to survive in one of America's most expensive regions. These individuals receive carefully crafted job offers that seem legitimate on the surface but serve a darker purpose. The initial contact usually comes through professional networking sites or job placement agencies that appear completely normal. The positions offered are entry-level tech jobs with attractive salaries and benefits packages. However, buried in the extensive employment contracts are clauses about voluntary medical participation programs and wellness initiatives that require regular health screenings and blood work. Once hired, these young employees undergo comprehensive medical examinations that go far beyond typical workplace health checks. Their blood is tested not just for diseases, but for optimal cellular composition, hormone levels, and genetic markers that indicate biological youth and vitality. Those who meet the specific criteria receive additional compensation and are invited to participate in what's described as a premium wellness program. The selection process is ruthless in its efficiency. Recruiters use psychological profiling to identify individuals who are least likely to ask questions or resist pressure. They prefer people who are isolated, financially desperate, or new to the country. Anyone who might disappear without causing significant concern from family or friends. What makes this operation particularly cruel is how it exploits the very people these tech companies claim to empower. The same firms that preach about innovation, human potential, and making the world a better place are literally draining the youth from their most vulnerable workers. The irony is lost on executives who see their employees not as human beings, but as renewable resources to be harvested. The medical facilities where these extractions take place are hidden in plain sight, operating as legitimate wellness centers or medical research facilities throughout the Bay Area. The extraction process itself would horrify anyone with a functioning conscience. Unlike normal blood donation, which takes a small, safe amount, these procedures extract significant volumes, sometimes up to 2 pints at a time. The sessions can last several hours, with donors connected to machines that slowly drain their blood, while simultaneously infusing them with saline solutions to prevent immediate health collapse. Donors are told they're participating in groundbreaking medical research that could help cure diseases and extend human life. They're shown fabricated studies and given false hope that their sacrifice serves a greater good. The reality is that their blood goes directly into the veins of billionaires who see them as nothing more than livestock. The medical staff conducting these procedures are highly paid specialists who've signed ironclad non-disclosure agreements. Many are former military medics or doctors who've lost their licenses for unethical practices. They operate in a moral gray area where massive financial compensation overrides their oath to do no harm. The psychological manipulation extends beyond the initial recruitment. Donors are gradually conditioned to accept increasingly frequent extractions through a combination of financial incentives and subtle threats. Those who question the process or attempt to leave the program often find themselves facing sudden legal troubles, visa complications, or mysterious job terminations that make finding new employment nearly impossible. What's most disturbing is the tracking system used to monitor donors' health and productivity. Each individual is assigned a unique identifier and subjected to constant surveillance to ensure they maintain optimal blood quality. Their diets are controlled, their sleep patterns monitored, and their stress levels managed, not for their benefit, but to maximize the value of their blood. The facilities maintain detailed records of extraction volumes, blood quality metrics, and donor longevity. This data is used to optimize the harvesting process, determining exactly how much can be taken from each person before their health deteriorates beyond usefulness. It's human farming in its most literal sense. Some donors report feeling constantly exhausted, getting sick frequently, and aging rapidly despite their young years. They're told these symptoms are temporary side effects of the treatment, but medical evidence suggests they're experiencing accelerated cellular aging as a direct result of the blood loss. The most terrifying aspect of this operation is its international scope. What started in Silicon Valley has expanded into a global network of blood harvesting facilities. Tech moguls like Marcus Blackwood and Alexander Stone have established operations in countries with weaker regulations and more desperate populations. Young people from Eastern Europe, Southeast Asia, and Latin America are recruited through fake job programs and promised opportunities in the technology sector. These international facilities operate with even fewer safeguards than their American counterparts. Donors often disappear entirely after their blood quality degrades, with no questions asked by local authorities who are either bought off or intimidated into silence. The missing persons reports filed in these regions paint a horrifying picture of systematic human trafficking, disguised as employment opportunities. Private investigators who've attempted to expose these operations have faced serious consequences. Several have disappeared under mysterious circumstances, while others have been discredited through coordinated disinformation campaigns. The tech industry's control over information flow gives them unprecedented power to silence critics and hide evidence of their activities. The financial network supporting this system involves cryptocurrency transactions, offshore accounts, and shell companies that make traditional law enforcement investigations nearly impossible. Money flows through digital channels that these same tech leaders helped create, giving them perfect tools to hide their crimes from authorities. Law enforcement agencies struggle to address these operations because they exist in a legal gray area between voluntary medical procedures and human trafficking. The paperwork appears legitimate, the donors technically consent to the procedures, and the medical facilities hold proper licenses. It's exploitation hidden behind layers of legal protection and medical terminology. The victims who do survive often suffer long-term health consequences that medical professionals struggle to understand. Their cases are dismissed as stress-related disorders or genetic predispositions, while the true cause of their deteriorating health remains hidden. These individuals become living evidence of the tech industry's darkest secret, a secret that reaches into the highest levels of government and medical institutions. The Silicon Valley vampires have created the perfect crime, one where the victims participate willingly. The evidence disappears into their bloodstream, and the authorities tasked with protecting the public are either complicit or powerless to act. The truth about Silicon Valley's elite is more disturbing than any vampire story ever written. These aren't fictional monsters lurking in ancient castles. They're real people with real power who've found a way to extend their lives at the expense of others. Marcus Blackwood, Alexander Stone, Viktor Tech. They walk among us, make decisions that affect billions, and control the technology we use every day, all while sustaining themselves through practices that would make Count Dracula seem merciful. What makes this revelation so chilling is how perfectly it explains the behavior we've witnessed from these tech moguls in recent years. Their increasing disconnect from human empathy, their willingness to sacrifice worker well-being for profit, and their obsession with control and surveillance all make sense when you understand they no longer see themselves as part of the same species as the rest of us. The young people being harvested for their blood are not just statistics. They're real individuals with families, dreams, and futures that are being literally drained away to feed the immortal appetites of the world's most powerful people. Every time we use their platforms, buy their products, or consume their content, we're inadvertently supporting a system that treats human beings as renewable resources. This isn't about conspiracy theories or science fiction anymore. It's about recognizing that the people who control our digital world have crossed a line that separates human from monster. They've discovered the secret to extending life, but at a cost that reveals the true darkness of unlimited wealth and power. The question isn't whether this is happening. The evidence is hiding in plain sight for anyone willing to look. The question is what we're going to do about it now that we know the truth. The next time you see a tech mogul who hasn't aged in decades, remember what you learned today. When Marcus Blackwood talks about connecting the world while his young employees burn out and age rapidly, think about where that vitality is really going. When Alexander Stone preaches about innovation while Viktor Tech launches rockets fueled by human suffering, remember the true source of their endless energy. Share this information with people you trust. The mainstream media won't touch this story because they depend on these same tech giants for advertising revenue and platform access. It's up to us to spread the word and protect the vulnerable people being targeted by these modern vampires. If you know someone working for a major tech company who's been invited to participate in wellness programs or medical research, warn them about what they might really be signing up for. Sometimes the most important thing we can do is simply refuse to participate in systems that exploit others. Keep questioning what you see, especially when it comes to the people who have too much power and too few consequences. Subscribe to Shadowverse for more investigations into the dark truths hiding behind familiar faces. Comment below with your thoughts on this revelation. Have you noticed these strange aging patterns yourself? The vampires of Silicon Valley thrive in darkness and secrecy. Our job is to keep shining light on their activities until they can no longer hide what they've become.